is an opening. It's scary. It's edgy. Welcome on a Tuesday.
And the slapjaw.
The Jerry of the Slapjaw. Welcome to Loud and Nerdy on a Tuesday night, the Tuesday before Thanksgiving this year. Come on in. The water's fine. We're going to have a guest in a little bit. We have all kinds of things going on. My name is JW Colwell. I'm the movie guy on Facebook, Twitter, and all those other places, Instagram. I'm joined by my colleagues, my cohorts in crime on a Tuesday, Kyle Defina and Jerry Kamora of the band Slapjaw. Feel like we have to say it every time. How are we doing tonight, boys?
Great.
I'm gonna be honest. I'm mainlining Robitussin right now. I don't know how I got a cold right before the holiday, but it is what it is. You run with it. So if I stop talking and take a drink, that's what it's all about. I hope everybody's kind to me tonight. Some comments to start the show. We do have a guest in the green room, which is very exciting. I do love guests. So comments before we get going. Let's see. Joe originally says, good evening. Good evening, Joe.
Joe.
Thank you for watching over me, making sure I don't die. I appreciate it. Good evening, friends. Good evening, Ken McKernan. Good to see you. Hope all is well, my friend. And Jamie Hill of course, of Skinamarink. Thank you for joining us, Jamie. We appreciate you. I hope everything is going well in Canada on this fine Tuesday evening in November. So we were going through stuff to talk about in the show. We can start with box office, and then but I had a guest who just had a big article that came out on Film Buff Online. He's also the guy I do a show with on Monday nights called Generation Movie, and he's going to stick around for a little bit and chit chat with us and get his loud and nerdy swerve on. Ladies and gentlemen of Film Buff Online, and from Beyond the Sun, Rich Streets. Rich!
Hey, everybody!
It's like Hollywood. It's like Hollywood Squares around here. I'll take Rich for the block.
You fool!
And
if you know Hollywood Squares history and you know Gilbert Gottfried, you know what I'm referencing.
Oh my God, that was one of the greatest sequences in Hollywood Squares history. He kept on giving the wrong answer because, as everybody knows, if you're watching Hollywood Squares, they're furnished with the correct answer and they choose whether or not they want to give a false answer or not. Mm-hmm. So Gilbert Gottfried had a huge segment where he was like, he answered the question and it was the same people going for the same square. And what was it, 3 times? You fool!
3 or 4 times.
It was and 3 or 4 times. You fool!
Funnier and funnier. It's on YouTube.
It's a great bit. So you broke some news, or not broke some news, but some news came out earlier that for anybody who thinks that the Star Wars franchise is in bad hands or not going well, or Kathleen Kennedy is going to make the world cry, or whatever the fuck is going on. I was just reading your article on Film Buff Online. Dave Filoni's got a new job, and Dave Filoni is king of the nerds. He's king of the Star Wars nerds. Played with Star Wars figures like the 4 of us when we were kids, mostly. Did all of us play with Star Wars figures as children?
Wish I still had those first edition figures.
I still have my first editions. I still have my first editions.
There's my lightsaber on the wall behind me.
With guns, also. I had the horrible trick as a child of my mother had a glue gun because she was a florist. So I would glue the guns in the hands of the so they could never get lost.
Nice.
Missy says hi, and she said yes. I assume that's about the toys. So Dave Filoni, king of the nerds, guy who played with toys as a kid. What is his new job, Rich? Explain it to us.
Dave Filoni is now the chief content officer at Lucasfilm, which basically means, he's always been part of the overall development process of various movies and the TV shows, especially, outside of the ones that he's not directly creating, like Clone Wars, Rebels, Resistance, Ahsoka. Mandalorian, which he co-created alongside of Jon Favreau. And outside of those projects, anything else that was being developed at Lucasfilm was kind of being developed along, and then they would bring him in at some point to take a look at that. And this new job has him now doing that a lot earlier in that development process.
The word in your article is inception. He's an inception. He's an inception point now for the universe, as opposed to somebody that would come in after a project had gotten started, and maybe you would say, "Oh, you can add something here. You can do something over here." He's now starting projects.
Yeah, I don't want to say he's definitely like the Kevin Feige of Star Wars now, because he, in the Vanity Fair article, which broke this news earlier today, he kind of talked about how he's there at the inception, and he just wants to give a little guidance. If somebody comes in with an idea that overall they like, but there's a couple of little things that might not really feel like Star Wars, he say, let's do this, but maybe work on this idea here, this part of it a little bit to smooth that rough edge. Or he could look at something and go, you're onto something here. Here's some lore, and maybe we can make that all work together.
Right, because his big gig was like you say in the article, he's as close to Lucas without being Lucas as you can get. Right? He has his fingers on all of the lore. He has his fingers on the histories, the backstories, everything. Like, he tends to be a person that you can go to and talk to and be, where you look at it and you go, he knows the entire franchise in and out, down to planets and what.
Especially in Clone Wars, not so much Clone Wars, but much more into Rebels and stuff. They started to really develop a lot of the background ideas about the Force. Kind of develop more of the mythology. You get the Dathomir witches. You get the Mortis gods, which again get referenced in Ahsoka. So if you never watched any of the animated stuff, sorry that's confusing you. So he kind of helped develop and built that lore out. And a lot of that was based on discussions he was having with George Lucas at the time they were making Clone Wars. And then once, Lucas stepped away from the thing, he still kind of had Lucas's ear a little bit. He could still kind of pick up the phone and go, "Hey, George, got a question." But he probably has, at the core, probably one of the most extensive understandings of how the franchise should be working as a whole. And you can complain about stuff like the Vespa scooter things in Book of Boba Fett. I would not be one of those persons, because I thought that was absolutely in keeping with George Lucas's initial envisionings of Star Wars.
Candy coated and young. Candy coated and young.
Really cool. But he's the guy really who everybody's considered George Lucas's heir, apparent in terms of
the thing is, one of the great things about him is he is both a protector of the past and loves forging new ways, new and exciting paths. What he's done with Ahsoka, what he's done with Mandalorian, what he's done, like, he definitely has street cred with the Star Wars nerds, right? Because if you mention Filoni and Favreau, everybody gets all excited. But the interesting thing here is also that he is also one of the guys that seems to have his finger on the pulse of what Star Wars fans want, right? I mean, there's talk that Kathleen Kennedy is always in trouble. Like, every other day, there's an article somewhere on some clickbait site. Kathleen Kennedy's on her way out, and it's like, is she?
One day they will be right. One day they will be right.
One day, well, yeah, a broken clock is right twice a day.
And luck.
But I think this is fascinating. The other thing that I think is really fascinating is that Star Wars has taken an interesting turn, whereas Marvel is kind of struggling in TV and movies, although their last TV show was the end was a resounding success. the TV shows for Star Wars have been very solid to great, solid to great, right? But they don't give a shit. If you don't know the lore and shit, that's on you. They make things that are derivative of the past. It's one of the big things that I think it's one of the reasons why he gets this job and kind of runs with it. Because he's really like, no, the real fans know the sixth planet in the Dagobah system. And everybody else can fuck off.
See, that I think is going to become a problem.
There's no sixth planet. That's a misnomer. There's no sixth planet. I was lying. Well,
but I see that, kind of increasing need to know the lore to be a problem, a detriment actually in Star Wars a little bit. Again, Ahsoka, which if you had watched Clone Wars, if you had watched Rebels, you knew who some of these characters were. You knew a lot of the things that they were talking about. If you said, I don't watch the animated stuff, I only want to watch the live action stuff, Ahsoka was going to leave you in the dark. And, as much as I enjoyed certain things about that show, I still thought the pacing was incredibly glacial slow over all 6 episodes or whatever it was.
It was slow. There's no real, like, I understood that.
I didn't have a problem with that having to have that prerequisite knowledge, but I could see where it would be an issue for other people. And that's where I think, if we're going to see more of this, doesn't care about that
problem. I think that's interesting. I think it's interesting when you have somebody that legit tells people, I don't care that you don't know it. Like, it could be a problem, don't get me wrong, but we're already a weird bunch anyway. And some could argue, and I've told you this on many an occasion, I actually think Star Wars fans have become some of the worst fans. Like, the small contingent that's bad is so bad that I just want to strangle most of them. In some ways, it's like being a Raiders fan. Congratulations, by the way, Jerry, for being a Dolphins fan this week. We helped. We don't tell me you weren't scared a little bit.
Of course.
Because it was. I don't. Okay. Anyway, sports ball. But anyway, I also want to talk to you about a couple other things.
There's someone in your house.
And in my ear too.
She scared the shit out of me. I'm like, where did she come from? Holy shit! She's very fast. And she's a redhead.
You're excited about this whole Star Wars thing because I see it going just the opposite way, where he tries to make it for such a niche audience that it almost goes the same way that, for a comparison, that AEW has gone, where it starts off really good, but it's just a dwindling return because it's just he appeals to only the niche, like Tony Khan.
And I think it's an interesting thing. I think there's a discussion to be had about a niche audience. Like, Star Wars is already a niche, right? It's one of the biggest niches ever, but it's still a niche, right?
Well, I think that niche is shrinking now.
Well, yeah, we're getting older. We were talking about this.
I agree with that.
And this is an interesting conversation that we're going to turn right to right now, Kyle. One of the things that came up that Kyle and I were talking about, and maybe you guys will both want to chime in on this. Somebody said Rocky Horror isn't as important as it once was. And the idea that it's not nearly as cutting edge, it's not nearly as, it's got all of the things that you and I used to talk about. Like, remember 16 Candles? We had that discussion. Like, when did 16 Candles become the most filthy teenage comedy ever? Like, it just did overnight. Like, we looked up and was like, holy shit, we're old, and 16 Candles are filthy. But Kyle has some interesting stories to tell about Rocky Horror and where it's at, and also an opinion. And I wanted to give him an opportunity because this is a really interesting thing. Because Rocky Horror is very specific about the idea of a transvestite. The idea of consent is kind of optional in the Rocky Horror universe. And those are big issues now. What's your thinking on this, Kyle? Because we're talking about Star Wars, where it's a little bit interesting. So give me an idea of what you're thinking.
Well, Rocky, with that, it is an older audience now. It's not getting the younger people. The gay and lesbian community, the younger ones don't see it as the safe space to go anymore because every place is kind of the safe space to go. So
That's
it's not
interesting.
bringing in the younger crowd in that demographic. Um, I know when the pandemic hit and Disney first bought all of Fox's library, or Disney wanted to put Rocky in the vault, and we were still doing shows, and we were looking to do more shows, and we had contacted a few drive-ins, and one of the drive-ins said, "Yeah, absolutely, let's do this. We got nothing to play. Let's give it a shot." And they contacted a distributor, and Disney said, "No, we're not putting Rocky out on the screen to help spread this pandemic." And they're like, "But this is a drive-in show. People will be in their own cars, and we have, you know, procedures in place for the concession stand, and we'll only sell tickets online." And they're like, "No." So he called me back. He's like, "It's a no-go." I said, "Okay, let me make a few calls." So I called the president of the fan club,
Sal
and
Piro, correct?
told him, no, Sal.
No,
Sal passed.
Sal
Sal passed away a
Sal's
few years back.
passed. Yeah. But no, the president right now is Larry Weisel, and
Okay. Sorry.
another Jersey boy. He made a couple phone calls, and the next day the theater owner calls me up and he goes, "I don't know who the fuck you know, but Lou Adler is yelling at Disney to let my movie theater play Rocky Horror. So we're booked for that date."
Nice.
That's a great
Fast
story.
forward 2 years now, though, and Rocky's getting great numbers. We just did a show with Patricia Quinn. We've done shows with Barry Boskowitz. I got to meet Tim and Susan. But word on the street is when Rocky hits his 50th, which is 2 years from now, it's basically that Lou Adler's going to retire, and he's the one that champions keeping it going with Disney. And once he retires, a lot of people are worried that Disney is going to put Rocky in the vault at that point, and it might not be
Well,
on the screens and the cult movie that is out there anymore.
Well,
Interesting.
I mean, after the purchase of Fox, Disney has put everything of theirs into the vault. It's very hard for any rep theater to get Fox programming. I've talked to friends of mine who are involved with programming at theaters, and they've been like, it's like
Real
pulling
hard
teeth
to-
to get.
real hard to get
Um,
Die Hard, real hard to get Predator, real hard
Yeah,
to get
and
any
so-
of the
So
any of
Rocky,
the Fox.
Rocky
great
at
Fox-
least is lucky enough to have Lou out there championing it, and still putting the screws to Disney. This was always a moneymaker for Fox, on the late night circuit when that was still a thing before that died out in the mid 90s. And
Disney did a complete
I'm-
180 this October, though, where normally it's a 20 to 30% rights fee for Rocky. Any movie theater that showed it in October this year, 50%. The mouse was taken. Raven,
mouse
it
has
would be
spoken.
after the 50th anniversary,
the
not before.
mouse has spoken. I think you're talking about Disney doing those things, and part and parcel. This is a story that kind of relates to this. Why are they holding up movies that we know exist and you can't find them places? I had a True Lies. I had a True Lies moment where I was like, I really want to watch True Lies. I haven't seen True Lies in like 3 years, right? And I was trying to find True Lies, and I couldn't. I had it on VHS and I had it on disc, but I couldn't pinpoint where they were. And I looked up and I couldn't find a place to watch True Lies. And I'm like, then I started digging around and can't find The Abyss, can't find True Lies, can't find all these movies. And why can't you find them? Because you look up and then all of a sudden, The Abyss is playing for one night only in a 4K restoration that's already sold out in so many theaters already. The tickets went on sale today, the night we're live. So if you didn't get your seats, it's only playing at 7:00,
Such a
6
good
and 7:00. Well, and it's the special edition, so they released a trailer for a one night showing, right? Which
Mhm.
means it's going to be a one night showing, and the following Tuesday it's going to be out in 4K, right? Is what's going to happen. But The Abyss is one of those movies. where Fox made a bunch of great movies in the 80s and 90s, and Disney owns them now, and Disney is kind of like they're rationing them out, like they're kibble. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm fascinated by that.
Hey, I could
The
send
idea-
you the True Lies VHS if you want, and the Abyss.
How about the
And the
VCR to
Abyss.
go with it?
Well, the Abyss,
I got
the
the
Abyss,
Viewmaster discs. Would you like the
Abyss-
Viewmaster discs?
yeah,
I used to love those.
the thing about the Abyss is the Abyss holds all kinds of special. My dad came when I was at George Washington University as a freshman. My dad came down and we saw it in 70 millimeter in DC, the special
Nice.
of it. So like, imagine 70, like, and it was a real 70 millimeter there. It wasn't like fake Limax kind of. It was a real fucking set, like all around you, 70 millimeter theater. And imagine the waves and just like because the special edition has so many cool moments. Okay, some comments from a bunch of us nerds talking. Let's see. Raven writes, agree to disagree, Kyle. We can have more than one wrestling company, all because it doesn't draw WWE numbers. Doesn't mean not successful. I'm going to agree to disagree with you, Raven. It's not that the numbers that's the problem. It's the booking that's the problem. The booking's
It's the dwindling
problematic.
numbers.
It's dwindling numbers, problematic booking, and people getting hurt a lot more than they need to in this business. So just, I'm loath to say I'm part of the.
I want
culture that-
competition.
I would love it to be, but they're killing themselves. Okay, no way it goes in the vault before the anniversary. I don't know. Maybe it does. Disney is real.
I said
interesting about-
Lou is going to push it to the 50th and then retire. So it'll be
Ken's
after.
my favorite movie. I think The Abyss.
The
The
Abyss.
Abyss is Ken's favorite movie. Can we talk about Beastmaster? I freaking love Beastmaster. That was very random in the loud nerdy thing. Is it celebrating something, or did Mark Singer didn't die or anything? Did he?
No?
No, just
Okay.
it's
I know
got
he's
a
still alive.
ferret, so it's always
I
got a
haven't looked
long
at
one.
Hollywood
Um,
for a year. An hour ago.
1989 was the year of water movies. The Abyss, very good. Deep Star 6, terrible. Leviathan, underrated.
Leviathan was good.
Leviathan's underrated.
Peter.
Plus,
L.
anytime you have a booze drug that causes people to change into monsters, and also Richard Crenna is one of the monsters. You gotta love that shit. Let's see. I was driving home from work listening to you guys. Did I hear Tim Curry is becoming a Disney princess? I would say he already is a Disney princess. But that's
Him and
just-
Max
that's-
Klinger from MASH.
Evil
I agree
queen.
with booking 2 up and down. Fantastic. And then Anomis just wants to show off her ferrets. Fair. I'm not going to judge though. So, but I think it's an interesting thing. I think when Disney shuts the tap off on stuff, it used to work gangbusters. We were talking last night, Rich and I were talking about Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, and in the weekend the Planes, Trains, and Automobiles opened in '87, Cinderella was in a re-release, and it grossed like $8 million. At the time, it was like second place. We also found out last night that I did a deep dive on the weekends that it was open. Planes, Trains, and Automobiles came in third its opening weekend. And one of the interesting things is the Running Man, and the big one was 3 Men and a Baby. Started its meteoric rise that would last from the end of November all the way through January. It was number one at the box office. It reclaimed number one 3 or 4 times throughout that Christmas season. So that movie was like a fucking juggernaut. It wasn't because of the weird kid cutout. But that's one of the reasons Planes, Trains, and Automobiles wasn't number one ever at the box office. Sorry, I have to keep the throat lubricated tonight. Anyway, every night, really.
You said it, not us.
I know. Hee McDonald's and stand-ups, ha. So anyway, another thing
Grib is back.
that I want, the McRib is back. I think it's the best sandwich ever made, but I know it's fake. I know it's synthetic. I know it's delicious. I'm reminded of The Fly, when he makes her the steak and he sends the steak through the thing and he's just like, it's a synthetic, I imagine that a McRib is just something that's come out of the Brundle teleporter. I'm okay with it.
One more comment. Highlight the one more comment.
There's no need to highlight that comment. We're good.
Highlight the comment.
That's good.
With 2 T's.
2 T's.
Yes.
Yeah, we're good. We're good.
2 T's.
No.
No. Equal opportunity highlighter.
Okay, and done.
There we go.
And done. And scene. Another thing that Rich has been working on, I know he's still working on it for the Big Picture podcast, which is his other podcast. You're working on the 40th anniversary of Scarface. Are we all Scarface aficionados? Have we all seen Scarface? Do we all love Scarface? Because Rich had never seen it. You had never seen it. Is that correct?
I had not seen it until like 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago now. And it just kind of came out in theaters at a time when my parents were no way in hell going to take me to that movie because I was like 12. But I remember
Put them on a completely different life path.
Possibly.
Oh.
Don't get high in your own supply, Rich. The rules of Scarface. Don't get high in your own supply and say hello to my little friend.
True. But I did remember enough of the time period of, the Cuban boat people coming into the country. I remember all of the Reagan era and some of the excesses of it, including cocaine being a big thing, of course. And it's stuff that we talk about in our discussion. And I think kind of coming at it, from a point where I understood what was going on. I'm glad I didn't even see it in college in like the mid 90s or early 90s or whatever, because I don't think I would have appreciated it in the way that I was able to appreciate it this time. And it's a freaking fantastic film. The critics were mostly negative on it when they came out. They didn't like the violence, but I think it actually says a lot. It has a lot of sharp social critique of that era. And at the same time,
Pacino's chewing on scenery, but it's a really good performance.
Yeah.
And you have other really good performers. Robert Loggia is fantastic. Stephen Bauer actually never got another shot, and Mary Elizabeth Mastrantonio. Whew.
Mercy.
Also just the concept of like the idea that in the middle of this very machismo movie, you have this whole concept of like, incest just drops in the middle. And who is to think the legacy of that movie, whoever did it for Generation Movie, would be, all the stepsister videos on all the terrible porn sites, right? I mean, it's right there. Okay,
she
but
was in discussions tonight. She was in the Abyss,
and she's also in the Abyss. Yes,
I wasn't sure where the pop-up screen was going when he talked about the stepsister stuff. Just wanted to.
Well, I found this poster. This
also,
is really
Scarface
nice.
just sets the table for people for Miami Vice, which started a year and a half later.
I also think it also sets the table for Tarantino a little bit, right? Because the ultra violence and the idea that at some point Tarantino is going to be behind a video wall, right? Behind working in a video store, and this is going to be one of the movies that he sees and gravitates towards the violence. And instead of doing the violence for utter horror, like the chainsaw sequence in the little Miami motel, he's going to do it for comic relief. He's going to turn it into, that Tarantino thing that he processes and pushes out. But it's a fantastic movie. Also, Michelle Pfeiffer is fantastic in this movie.
One of her best roles.
It's one of her absolute best roles. She's she's mean and nasty, and then gets drawn in, and then just like never sees him for anything but what he is. She never looks at him as anything for what he is, just some guy taking over. You know what I mean? Like, but I remember that movie playing in my dad's theater. It was a long movie, so they started at 6 every day. During the winters, they used to play only a night show, so we were out by like 9 o'clock. I used to do my homework in that theater. Anyway, it's one of those great movies that had intermission. You know, it was fantastic. But that's going to be the next big picture podcast, and then you have one coming up. Let's talk about the one that's coming up, the big one, with you and Natasha talking about the romantic Christmas movie, the movie that celebrating its 20th year. What do you got coming up?
In a couple of weeks, actually, we'll be talking about Love Actually. In between, though, we're yeah, that's going to be that first week in December is when that episode is going to drop, because Love Actually is having a one-night stand in theaters on December 8th. So, yes, I meant that on purpose.
There you go.
I think that's the day after The Abyss. So
no, The Abyss is the 6th.
The 6th, okay.
I think Love Actually is playing a full week. Love Actually, I think is going to be.
I wasn't sure on that, actually.
We're saying actually.
This date, actually.
I know. But that's a whole good week of rep theater, coming to most major chains. 2 big movies from the from the past, and it's always great to see them on the big screen. In addition to Rocky Horror, I would love to see Shock Treatment again on the big screen. At all on the big screen. I've never seen it on the big screen. I do enjoy Shock Treatment. I think some of the songs are even a little bit better. Don't be shaking your head at me. I'm sorry.
The music is great for Shock Treatment. The music is great. The movie is horrible, but the music is great.
I spent virtually one semester at college with a friend watching it about 3 to 4 times a week. And I have some interesting thoughts about that. It's not the time to get into them.
Unto itself.
But
that sounds like Shock Treatment unto itself.
Yeah, well, we were sitting around, decided we wanted to come up with our own callback script for the whole movie. And kind of in a vacuum, because we had never been able to see it in a theater with other people and other callbacks and stuff pre-internet, so we didn't know if anybody ever had come up with something like that. But we had a good time with that. I have some interesting thoughts about the movie. At some point, I would like to sit down and kind of talk about it some more, write about it some more. But that's for a future.
If only you had a show to do that. If only you had a show to do that on. Maybe we'll do that.
Me and Melissa might actually know the person that did the commentary on the re-release on the DVD. Shock Treatment.
Well, there's an interesting time. Some more comments.
One of the two. The other one passed away, but
yeah.
Let's see. Missy writes,
yes,
he likes a wet and fast a picture. Okay. Anyway, Jesus Christ. Seen Scarface was a good movie. I think Scarface is always be Serpico to me.
Serpico is good.
That's another great.
I don't know that Al Pacino is Serpico to me. Al Pacino is Michael to me. Al Pacino will always be Michael to me, right? I mean, Michael, that's war hero, happy, comes home, becomes Michael, miserable, then eventually kills his brother. Michael is where
I don't know. To me, Al Pacino will always be Big Boy Caprice.
So I saw a new movie this weekend called Thanksgiving. Since the holidays coming, I just want to say, if you're into movies, definitely check this one out. It's a horror film. I haven't gotten to check it out. Again, I told everybody a generation movie, and last weekend I was going to see The Holdovers and Thanksgiving last Thursday, and we had a major power outage in our theater. So I'm super disappointed that I haven't been able to get back at. The kills are crazy, and definitely had me guessing in regards to the killer was. Great time. Yeah, Eli Roth apparently returning to form. That movie did very well, considering it has a $15 million budget and it grossed $10 million opening weekend. It also beat out the Marvels for 3rd place, which nobody was expecting. I performed Shock Treatment. It's amazing.
Only by 180,000.
Yeah, but still, that's
fantastic movie right there.
Character from Dog Day Afternoon. Dog Day Afternoon's a great movie. Pacino's got a bunch of really great movies. I mean, another movie that's also coming around to they're talking about sequels or whatever. Recently Michael Mann wrote a sequel to Heat, and Pacino and De Niro in Heat is great, but that's one of those weird movies where they only meet for 5 minutes in a diner, and then it's a chase sequence that's two old guys running through the dark. Let's see. I have to say I've never seen Scarface, and I blame Joe. Well, Joe's problematic. I mean, Joe might not allow you to see it. Just he might be protecting you. I'm not gonna lie, Karen. Karen is, by the way, Joe's wife. It's a rough movie. It's I would say it. Would you agree, Rich? It's not for the faint of heart. It's one of those movies where you look at it.
It's not a first date movie. It's not a movie for the whole family.
Valentine's Day movie.
It's not a feel-good holiday movie. Even though there's a lot of snow.
There is a lot of snow. Do you know the value of this entire mountain? I'm sorry. That's a Better Off Dead reference.
Better Off Dead reference.
I can't move my right arm.
I can't move my. I want my $2. Yeah, I mean, it's one of those great movies. We have been doing a Generation Movie, some Thanksgiving movies, and we are going to talk a little bit about Thanksgiving traditions that I want to talk about the Loud and Nerdy page. We asked the question, what are your Thanksgiving traditions? It comes from last week's show. Rich, what are your Thanksgiving traditions? I know you're like me. Well, I used to work Thanksgiving. When I used to run the movie theater, I used to work Thanksgiving. So I never really, like, Thanksgiving was a black hole. Like, I would eat and then I would go and open a theater. Is essentially what my Thanksgiving used to be. What do you have any Thanksgiving movie like pop culture traditions that you love?
No, not really. I just gather with some friends. We all make food. We all stuff our faces. We all try not to go into comas and fail miserably.
Thanksgiving naps are the best.
Yeah, I always well, maybe I'm gonna watch a couple of movies this Thanksgiving, because I have the whole day, and then I just get together and I'm hanging out with friends, and I never get to those movies, and that's kind of okay for me.
And my big Thanksgiving movie tradition, I always watch Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. We got to do it a little bit earlier. I usually do it the Wednesday night before Thanksgiving, leading into the following day holiday. We used to go out to drink. I remember when we would go back, everybody would be coming back from college or whatever, and they'd be visiting. So you'd have to go and meet friends at bars, at all the dive bars in Scranton and NEPA.
Biggest night of the year in Scranton.
It's the busiest bar night of the year. Except for St. Patrick's Day, yes. But Planes, Trains, and Automobiles for me, and this is I was a little sick last night, Rich, so I didn't get to put it up, but I brought it tonight. If you ever wondered the path that Neil and Del take in Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, this is it. This is the path. So, it starts off with the plane ride, right? Green, 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 green. Ends up in Wichita, Kansas. And then train, although it's not the hog train, and unless you're hogging and cattle, of course, that's with Dylan Baker and his wife, who, whose child came out sideways, gets him to that train, and then that train breaks down in the middle of nowhere.
Scream or nothing.
She didn't scream or nothing.
Her last baby came out sideways.
That's the bus trip, of course, where Neil tries to sing 3 coins in a fountain, and Del immediately cuts him off and sings the Flintstones. And then via rental car, that's the rental car where they almost die twice. Actually, 3 times. Because they're going the wrong way, and then the car sets itself on fire, and then they hit a hotel. And then they finally get the milk truck, and they make it home. So, I mean, it's just beautiful, and it's.
Are you the shower curtain fella? I love that movie.
we did it on Generation Movie last night. It's such a great movie, and I feel bad that I was a little bit under the weather last night because I forgot I had stuff that we had planned. Like I had this picture, which is one of the single greatest pictures in the history of film. Everybody knows the line. Everybody knows the line. That's those aren't pillows, right? That's why are you kissing my ear? Why are you holding my hand? Where's your other hand? Those aren't pillows. Between two pillows. Those aren't pillows. So it's my favorite Thanksgiving movie, but also it is a wonderful, like, Rich and I were talking about last night. It is got so much heart, and just it's got probably the greatest John Candy. We decided last night it's probably his best performance ever put on film. I mean, you'll get people who say Uncle Buck or Only Lonely or whatever, but Planes, Trains, and Del Griffith and another.
This is the Polka King and Home Alone.
You know what? He's even good in that, but it's not better than Del.
Too. Summer Rental.
Summer Rental is really good too. Yeah, we were talking about that last night. Like,
would you just tell her they look nice? Oh, they're great.
They're stunning. Okay, so let's see what we got here. Let's see what else we got. Let's see. Did Kyle go for Thanksgiving? Go to Thanksgiving.
Movie.
We eat.
No, she went while I was at work.
Okay. No, the movie's silly. Nope, he did not. There's a whole conversation's going on. It's a whole conversation going on in our chat. What's everyone's poison for Thanksgiving? Do you mean booze? If you mean booze, I do Malibu. My poison all the time for parties and social gatherings and drinking is Malibu and Coke.
You have to do that stuff you bring to that Viking.
I can't. You can't do that shit all the time.
From Kazakhstan or wherever.
Yeah, you can't do with that. You can't do that stuff. That stuff is used in the off season to peel paint.
That takes hair off your chest.
It takes hair off your chest and then puts the hair in your stomach. It's not great. I love cranberry sauce. Fair. What's everybody's favorite Thanksgiving food? Cranberry sauce. Don't. Okay, I'm a ham guy. Ham, man. Spiral ham.
Out of the can.
Man.
Out of the can.
Don't drive backwards. And then let's see. Ken writes. I still don't like Steve Martin.
Ham and stuffing.
We're getting a reverb. Let me turn their sound down. God damn it. But the dentist.
Stuffing. I guess.
And those aren't pillows. Okay. So Rich, I'm gonna let you go.
Yes.
Get out of here. Go celebrate. Be happy. I feel like the rest of the conversation, like what foods we eat and what movies we fight about and what games we play. And does anybody have a game tradition that they play? No.
Try not to get in arguments.
Well, that shit's not gonna work.
It's like a game, right?
That hasn't worked since 2016. There's nothing but arguments. Every house.
Call it the navigating others game.
The navigating others. Oh, one quick thing I do want to talk about before you go, Rich.
Sure.
I was reading about this place called the Wonderverse. Have you guys heard about this? It's in Chicago, and it is the first place that Sony has set down Sony's Wonderverse. It's a fully operational thing that's coming to Chicago. It's a new entertainment destination out inside the Oak Brook Center. And I want your thoughts on this. Listen to this shit. It's being transformed. The former West Suburban Sears store is being transformed into an indoor entertainment theme park, giving visitors the chance to zap ectoplasmic entities from Ghostbusters. There's also going to be a Zombieland theme ride. There's going to be a Bad Boys theme ride. So it's all Sony-based stuff. A retail store will have merchandise geared towards devotees, filled with such inside references as Ray's Occult Books. I know Rich has one of those shirts. Almost everything in the store you cannot buy anywhere else in the world. They're exclusive designs. So it's a whole thing based around Sony. Is Sony, like we were talking about this, is Sony a company that you can invest in aside from Spider-Man movies? Is Sony a company that you guys like feel like if they build something like that, I would go to that? The main attractions earlier are going to be Ghostbusters, Zombieland, and Bad Boys. What do you guys think?
Why not?
I think it's very hard for any studio to, and I think this might have been a problem with some of the streaming services, that you to brand yourself, with your own name. We're movie nerds. We know who Sony is. We know who Columbia Pictures are. We know who Paramount is. But outside of that,
TriStar.
Outside of our ridiculous, little circle, does the average person know that Ghostbusters is a Sony movie? Do they care? So I think them trying to leverage that stuff is an interesting idea. I mean, it's worked well for Disney, and Universal Studios, places like that. And I think it's actually a smart move that they're calling it Wonderverse and not, this Sony Land or whatever. I think that's actually a good idea to not tie it to their own studio name. Is this something you said Chicago?
Chicago. Well, what I was most intrigued was Ghostbusters. I think you look at and you go, if Sony offered Ghostbusters to Universal or Disney, they would both theme parks would jump in a heartbeat, right? So I think Ghostbusters themed whatever is going to be important and popular no matter what. Where I have questions is one of the theme park things. Well, the one is the most ludicrous thing I've ever heard, but it sounds funny. The Zombieland ride is apparently a bumper car ride. Okay. No, wait. Okay. It gets more crazy. It is a bumper car ride where the first person is infected, and the object of the bumper car ride is to avoid the other bumper car, the bumper car that's infected. And so as it hits other cars, they become infected. Which is high concept for fucking bumper cars.
It's interesting, but I can't see that lasting more than 14 seconds before everybody is boom infected.
That's because if you ever gone to Knoebels or any of the places that had
depends
bumper
on
cars,
how big the rink is, though.
I guess it would depend on how big the rink is. But
if you have a football field, you have a chance
for a while.
But I just think it's one of those things where it's like Zombieland. I don't know is as important as Ghostbusters. I mean, it could be.
Now, admittedly, for me, Ghostbusters is a New York franchise, even including Afterlife, which I think works incredibly well. When somebody says Ghostbusters, I think Manhattan. So doing that in Chicago feels a little weird to me. I'm not sure I would go to Chicago just for that. However, I do have a nephew who lives in Chicago, and if I were to go to visit him and take a couple of days, then yeah, I would add that into the trip, maybe along with like going to the Ferris Bueller, Cameron's house from Ferris Bueller, and a couple of other locations from movies in the city that I've always been itching to visit.
Well, and actually, the Zombieland thing has a full arcade as well.
But there's they
got other titles though that could really tie in with Gran Turismo, Uncharted, both video game movies that could easily translate into theme park stuff.
Were they Sony films?
Hellboy.
Yeah, both of those are Sony films.
Okay. Obviously you can't do every Sony film because you can't do I don't know. Maybe Ghostbusters Mall Cop, but you probably couldn't do Captain Phillips as a theme park ride.
I don't know. I'm the captain now. That I
Who gets to be the
gets
captain
that?
on the Captain Phillips ride? I don't know.
I don't know who gets to do it. I just think it's an interesting thing as opposed because Ghostbusters has been licensed down here at Universal. They had a
Mhm.
Ghostbusters house that was top notch 2 or 3 years ago before the pandemic. And it was absolutely stunning. It had a full it had terror dogs. It had fucking the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man like right in front of your face, like his face, like a giant face, like in hands, like right here. And I mean, I just think Ghostbusters is the easily like the most easily
Well,
translatable thing. But
if they get a roller
I think
coaster
Hulk
based
would be
on
a good one,
Pray
too.
Love, then I'll definitely be there.
what were you saying, Kyle? Eat, pray,
If
love,
they
roller
get a
coaster.
roller
Hellboy.
coaster
They
based
own
on
Hellboy.
Eat, Pray, Love, I will be there.
The
No,
problem with
no.
Hellboy's been
The roller
diluted.
coaster's got to be based on Dumb Money, the GameStop ride.
Oh
It's just
God,
up and down.
yes.
Up and down. Well, the Hellboy thing is funny because Hellboy is like one of those properties right now. It's been bounced around so much that I don't know that anybody like Hellboy is one of the properties that's been absolutely crushed. Um, the idea that it's just not something that's viable right at this moment. Like it started out as something that was a really cool underground hit,
Yeah.
Hellboy, and then Hellboy: The Golden Army, and then they didn't finish the third one
I mean,
because Del
there's
Toro got busy on other shit. Another
there's
thing
room
that
for
happened.
expansion. There's room for expansion. They could do like an Epcot like portion of this park, but just base it around Deuce Bigelow, European Gigolo. I'm just
They
looking
got
at
the Emoji Movie, too. There's mascots running around the
I
park.
mean, what about a
I'm just
Canon
looking at Sony
Films
titles coming up with stupid ideas. Sorry.
Canon Films Park?
Yeah, the Delta Force ride is a
Ooh,
bitch.
Oh,
Canon
You just have,
innocent action,
you just have Lee Marvin yelling at you for 3
Revenge
minutes.
of the Ninja ride.
You just have Lee Marvin yelling at you for 3 minutes about why he doesn't want to
There'd be
fucking
so
be in this
many
movie.
good games and rides with that. Think
Lee
about
Marvin
it.
just
Jerry.
like, fuck, why am I here?
At
But yeah.
Canon Films Land, I would definitely go to the nightclub and just do break it all night long, baby.
It would be excellent.
JW,
I would go to the electric
wait a second.
boogaloo and just dance the night
JW, I
away.
sent you a pic. Tell me he couldn't be his love child. Oh, okay, hold on. Okay, this is. Every once in a while we have weird things happen on the show.
Why don't I get these pics?
Well, you don't get these pics because, like, I don't know. It's not my fault. It's not my fault you don't get you don't get the pics because you don't get the pics. Like, what? Why are you jealous? Why you gotta be
I
like
wonder
this?
who I'm the love child of.
And how about a Life Force ride? Invaders from Mars.
Ooh.
Invaders from Mars ride would be fun.
It'd be amazing. Highlander.
Actually, this is actually getting better, but I don't think it could
Yeah.
ever be. It could ever be as
Social network.
the Social Network ride. It's just you just
No,
you're
No, the social
chased-
network experience.
you're chased by the Winklevoss twins.
It's just
And
emotional
you gotta
abuse over and over again.
Yes.
Simulated rowing out of there. Pull!
The jerk.
Jerk.
Yes, booze. Okay, he still wants our poison. I already said mine. Mine's Malibu and Coke. Coke Zero to be exact. Seems Monopoly go now. Monopoly's rough. I don't play Monopoly with just anybody. Monopoly's one of those games you have to be very careful who you play with. Because it can ruin lives and friendships. I love this. You go, Sony. You know what? It is a good idea. I just I don't know.
And then
Remember Jen
every
and
park
Jason
needs a
Wonder
bad
Twins?
shooter like that new Minions one at Universal. So you got Adam Driver 65 at Sony for that.
Oh my god! You know what? Let's really quick. That is one of the worst rides I've ever been on. So let me tell you about the horror of this ride. Okay, so they have a new Minions ride. I'm a fat guy. I have a scooter. I try to get around as best I can at Universal. A lot of walking, a lot of crazy. We go on the Minions ride. They have a new Minions ride. Fantastic. We get to the end of the line. They say you can't take your scooter. I'm like, okay. I walk through the thing. We get where we're going, and then they go, yeah, but this ride is a standing ride. So I'm already gassed. I get on the ride. It's a moving walkway. Now, can't hold on to anything. I don't know if you've been around fat people, but if you can't hold on to things, so the ride stops every time somebody touches the wall or touches the rail. So this was the longest 5 minutes of my life. Like it was
Dude, I'm
it
sorry,
was
man.
brutal. It was
Ugh.
brutal. And then my wife gets off and she goes to get my scooter, and I'm standing there, and one of the people came out. She's like, "Did anybody tell you could have got a wheelchair?" I'm like, "Well, yeah, they said I could get a wheelchair, but they said I can take my scooter." And they're like, "Okay." And she goes, "But is it your scooter or is it a universal scooter?" I'm like, "It's my scooter." And they're like, "They shouldn't have told you that." And then it just as it's going through my ears, I'm like,
Turned into a
"Holy
different
fuck!"
kind of
Right? So first off, the woman's out there because I look like I'm dying. I look because I've been on this ride for 5 minutes, and every time I put my hand out to try keep myself up, which again, as a fat guy, is a problem. Every time I did that, the ride stopped. So then I would pull back, and it would just became this. Like my wife was looking at me like, "You're gonna keel over," and she's like, "Lean on me because you can't lean on the fucking wall." And I'm like, "Holy fuck, I'm gonna die on this ride. Why did they say this is a ride? This isn't a ride. This is a walk spoiled, is what this is." Because you have to shoot, you have to do all kinds of shit. And the kids loved it.
Everybody
By the
else
way.
is like, "Come on, pal, will you?
Yeah, come
I
on,
got other rides
stop,
to ride today."
stop holding on. Have a heart attack and get off the ride. So anyway, the lady comes to me and says, "Did they tell you could take your scooter through the queue?" No. Okay. So we're wrong there. We're sorry. Then they go, "When you got to the queue and you started to walk on the ride, did they tell you could have a wheelchair that would sit on the exact same spot you'd be and you'd be sitting?" And I'm like, "No, they did not." I'm like, "What?" And as I was gasping for breath talking to her, I'm like, "Do you think I would have experienced what I just experienced if I could have sat for 3.5 minutes?" And she's like, "Okay, good point." But it was easy. But also, I just want to point out, it's a shitty ride. Like I know it's shitty because I almost died on it, but it's also shitty because it's just not a cool. Like it's not fun. Like it's windy through Villain Con, and it's just really boring. And it was like, so that was my embarrassing Universal story from the last time we went. People are going to strictly for Ghostbusters. Absolutely, I agree with that wholeheartedly. Someone should sell cheap stereos there. Pretty funny. That's good. Is there anything Ghostbusters people are going to go to? And Bad Boys is so big right now, and their spinoffs are doing amazing. Yeah, but Bad Boys is a weird one, like because Bad Boys is specifically like Ghostbusters. I can envision trying to be a Ghostbuster. I don't want to be Will Smith and Martin Lawrence. Like I just
I think Bad Boys. I think of Sean Penn. I don't.
Oh, interesting. That's you're
That's the
fucking
movie I
dating.
think of every time.
I know, but Jerry, you're fucking dating yourself with that one.
Yeah, it's
You're
good
thinking
movie.
about Sean Penn making a metal spoon shiv. If they sold a high C ecto cooler there, I'd go. They probably will. There'll probably be it's a bar. Did I mention also it's a bar? There's a full bar. So there's definitely gonna be food. I was already on this ride called the Pandemic. Yes. Sounds like a park with COVID. Yeah, it was bad. Good seeing you guys on the network. Thanks, Ryan. Good to be on the network. Oh my God, they have Smurfs, the whole Smurf village. No, the ride, if it's a Smurfs, everybody gets to be Gargamel and chase after the Smurfs. That would be the ride. Do we not want to kill Smurfs?
I don't know. A whole Smurf village to go through though, with the different mushroom houses, would be kind of cool.
Wait, what was the cat?
Oh, you just want it for the mushrooms?
Yeah, right.
You just want it for the mushrooms?
Yes.
Azrael. The cat's name is Azrael. Gargamel and Azrael. But yeah, I mean, it's perfect.
I need that as a ringtone.
Okay, so lots of movies opening this week. I don't know that any of them are going to hit. Napoleon's 2 hours and 45 minutes, and it's being reviewed as a comedy. Like, I don't know where that came from. We have Wish opening that's taking it's the reviews for Wish have been brutal, like brutal.
Which is interesting because I missed the critic screening for that one last week, but a couple of my friends who were there really liked it. So I'm not, I weirdly enough, I guess they're the outliers on this one.
Well, but is it one of those things?
I probably won't get to it until early next week.
Is it one of those things where it's just weird Disney blowback?
I don't know.
I don't know. Everything where Disney takes it on the chin.
Yet, so,
let's see. Stand By Me, the bridge run ride. Sean Smith says, "Hey brothers, hey Sean, good to have you. Thank you for joining us. Remember, everybody, by the way, also, if you could like and subscribe on the Indie Escape Network, that would be fantastic. That way, you'll get all the shows that we cover, all our shows on the network. University of Niagara River. Anyone who needs mobility assistance, it's not." Missy was so funny. As we were traveling around, I hung out with Kyle and Missy. Missy was trying to clear people out in front of my scooter, and I'm just like, no, Missy, this is Darwinian theory at its finest. These people, if they walk in front of me, get hit, and they hurt their ankles. That's all that happens, because it's very hard to drive a scooter, and people are just.
And of course, we're there for horror nights with fog machines going off, so he can't even see what's in front of him either.
It was hilarious. There was one. I think, Kyle, the one scare area. I think I turned to you and I said, "I can't move forward until I know there's nothing in front of me." And I'm not sure. I just can't see that spider area. Anyway, but Missy was so kind. But also Missy got really annoyed with people not being nice. So it's funny watching Missy deal with it. But it was also funny, just like Missy, these people they're never nice. You're barking up the proverbial wrong tree. Let's see. Universal could definitely do better. Sure, everybody could just be nicer. Sounds like me at Dorney. I can't even imagine Dorney. But this is a perfect time to end. We've done our hour, and we've given everybody some laughs, some chat. And traditions are always great. I always do the Thanksgiving Day Parade, the Macy's Day Parade. I used to do it with my mother. My mother loved the floats because my mom was a florist, so she was always looking at how can you design things, and how she watched that parade and the Rose Bowl parade were the two parades that every year she marked off her calendar and just, I have to be there at 9:00 to watch this. And I read some of the interesting things on our Loud Nerdy. Some of them are great. Macy's Parade, I call my mom when the Rockettes show up. Ken wrote, "It's just me and mom now, no more traditions." That's a tradition. Start a new tradition.
That's a tradition.
Honestly, none of my traditions are happening. Since Randy and I are childless, we traveled on our holidays, so a lot of time in the car. So karaoke, also pizza the night before, and movies. We do pizza and movies the night before as well. Jasper wrote, driving, dinner. Can't pick anything on Netflix. Driving. Kristen M. Kelly wrote, watching the dog show. Dawn Marie wrote, Macy's Parade, dog show, Chinese buffet, or takeout Indian cuisine. That's interesting to me, because they're fuck turkey. They're going right to chicken curry. And then Ryan Milani wrote, he just put up a picture of those aren't pillows, which that's one thing. For our show, movie traditions, and we talked about it a little bit last night. Rich, you're a huge fan of WKRP in Cincinnati. It is the one time of the year where WKRP in Cincinnati gets mentioned more than any other time of the year, which is a crime, as we said on the show last night, because it's a fantastic show that had so many good episodes. But the turkey episode is the one everybody seems to reminisce about or watch. Gravitate toward. The gravity is definitely involved. Gravity is definitely involved.
I'm far too proud of that pun. Sorry.
but I think it's, it's a good thing when you have touchstone movies like, like we did Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. We did Pieces of April last week, which revisiting that movie's only like an hour and 10 minutes. And it's just this wonderful little trifle of a Thanksgiving movie. Just revisiting those things is a great way to touch base and remember times when you're with your family or with people you love that aren't with us anymore. My dad loved Planes, Trains, and Automobiles almost as much as I did. So I just think it's one of those things where movies and television and how the holidays. I know there are a lot of Friends fans who love the Thanksgiving episodes of Friends. I don't want to get shot on the show. I'm not a Friends fan.
How I Met Your Mother and Slapsgiving.
Slapsgiving is another one, right? That comes up where you go. Those things are traditional. And next week on Generation Movie, we finish our Thanksgiving holiday thing. We changed it up. We were going to do Alice's Restaurant. Rich and I had a change of heart because somebody sent me an email, not bitching, but kind of bitching. It was bitching. There's a movie celebrating its.
We missed.
Pointing out something we missed. I don't want to say bitching. Bitching's not right. It was just, hey, why aren't you doing this, you slappo? You know what I mean? Like, what happened? And so something celebrating its 20th anniversary, and we're going to be almost on top of the date it premiered and opened, and that's this movie, Addams Family Values, which of course has what the single greatest Thanksgiving pageant ever put on film. You know what I mean? Like, and also it's a good time to celebrate the Addams Family movies because everybody's back into Wednesday and back into, it is a perfect time to talk about Christina Ricci passing the baton to Jenna Ortega and, talk about, the Addams Family animated movies that have come out that have been pretty good and, fighting about how characters look when people have no business. So we'll be doing that on Generation Movie next week. Couple comments before we go, and we'll see what everybody has. Let's see. Joe writes, JW, that's a picture of John Dugan. For those who don't know, he played the grandfather in the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Yes, John Dugan, who's also going to have a show on our network at some point. And he's a character. He's an amazing character. But this is the picture that Joe Ridgely sent me. No, not the Abyss. I'm sorry. Too much Robitussin. It does look like your twin. It does look like your twin, Kyle.
Yeah, dude.
Get off my lawn.
I think you both need to do a swab and send off to 23andMe to find out.
But John Dugan's a character. He's gonna have a show coming up on the Indie Escape Network that we're really excited about. Talking about all of his experiences in films. But yeah, I mean,
I can get in the will. Let's make it happen.
It's a pretty striking resemblance. Let's see other comments. Sean Penn pillowcase and soda cans. Facts, my friend, from Missy Defina. I feel like they're really
just because he only gets compared to Curly from the Three Stooges.
Disney needs a win of some sort, but they're always pushing the movies. Wish they need Christmas dolls. You know what? The funny thing there is the last movie that came out Thanksgiving, they had no dolls for Encanto at all. And all the characters that they thought they need dolls for were characters they didn't have. So the funny thing about Encanto is one of the stories that we overheard at Disney was one of the characters from Encanto, the larger sister who has the two really great songs, including the stress one, right? There weren't enough of her to go around because she's one of the favorites, and there weren't enough of her to go around when they were selling toys, and that's a real thing that actually came up. Let's see. JW, you should really post one of the videos of the scary areas to show bad visibility was. Next week we'll do that. I'll post it next week. We'll put it in Loud Nerdy.
Put it in the group.
We'll put it in the group. It was bad. The visibility was like, holy shit. Joe says, great show, guys. Thank you, Joe. Love you guys. We love you too, Missy. And have a great turkey day. That is one thing I want to say to everybody. Hold on.
Gobble, gobble, motherfuckers.
Any gobbles. Always wanted to try duck. New holiday.
Turducken.
Urkel
Donald
saves
or Daffy?
Ken McKernan. We do not talk about Urkel Saves Santa the movie because we didn't get Scoob Holiday Haunt. The Urkel Saves Santa the movie can go right the fuck off and kill itself because that's a Zaz approved movie and we don't like the Zaz. We do not. Let's see. Missy has a really long one. I want to thank you for that, JW. Honestly, it's been a really new since my mom passed away. So the holidays are a little hard, but we did wind up going to see a movie. She just wanted to see this holiday season, which was a new Hunger Games. So just identifying that's a way of staying connected is really helpful. Yeah, movies and television and friends and family are the way we stay connected, the way we stay vibrant. Rich, what do you got? You got a lot of things dropping on Film Buff Online. When can we expect some of these big, like your Scarface and your Love Actually? Just give us a heads up.
Well, hopefully I'll have Scarface, our podcast, the Big Picture podcast with my co-host and best friend, Natasha Bogutsky, dropping tomorrow. That will be our Scarface episode. Next week, Napoleon. Week after that, Love Actually, if all goes according to plan. Of course, we know, the best way to make sure nothing goes to plan is to tell God your plans.
Murphy's
Law. Got a few other things. Let's see. We had my review from Maestro, which is opening up in theaters this weekend. Dropped today. You can find that at filmbuffonline.com. I'm on sociables, Twitter. I will never call it a single letter. And Blue Sky at FilmBuffRich. And you can find Film Buff Online on Facebook, where at, of course, Film Buff Online, where we have some links to all our new posts as they go up, plus some exclusive things just to Film Buff, just to the Facebook page involving film history, things like that. Like if you were following our Film Buff Online page at Facebook today, you would have found out that it is the anniversary of the release of Frankenstein, released on this date back in 1931.
Happy Thanksgiving to that. It's like, hey,
Yeah.
we're going to go see a movie and have turkey dinner. That's great. Did he just throw that little girl in the pond? Yes, he did. Yes, he did. I'm scarred for life. Thank you, Rich. What about you, Jerry? I see semi-decent guitarist. That's bullshit.
No, that's true.
I'm calling, you're better than semi-decent. What Slapjaw shows you got coming up, my friend?
Just December 9th.
Just
Out
December
in
9th.
New City, New York.
Nice.
Never
And of
been
course,
there.
you're on TikTok every day now, just like finding youngins and beating their ass with a guitar. Just, I wish I could do it half as good as you. And where can people find Slapjaw information, my friend?
Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube.
YouTube. There you go. What about you, Mr. Defina? One show left? One
show left, December 9th at the Moon Tavern.
We're both going to be busy that night.
I want to stuff a whole bus. We're going to be stuffing a bus, though, for the Toys for Tots. Just 2 new unwrapped toys to get in.
It's not the first time you've stuffed a bus, is it? Anyway, that was filthy. Anyway,
That sounds euphemist.
It does.
Roads, buses.
No, I want to thank you all for being my friends and coming on and doing these shows with me. I appreciate you all more than you know. When I was by myself doing this show, it was really tough. So I want to say happy Thanksgiving to all of you and all of your families. I love you all. I love you all. And I love all of our fans.
Me most of all.
Yeah, I mean, yes. I mean, yeah. You had my heart first. We used to hang out CFP.
Get the camera right.
We used to have CFP
Backwards.
Jeff Fowler and just filming and just like madness. But I love you all. I want to say happy Thanksgiving to everybody and their families. Have a good day. If you want to go to a movie, go to a movie. There's plenty to watch at home though. Lots of stuff that's dropping and you can find something to watch. But I love you all. I love everybody. Have a good. Don't eat pumpkin pie. Can I just? My biggest foible. Pumpkin pie is terrible.
Rich, you and JW have matching shirts by chance? I just want to know.
Tonight? No.
Oh, Not right now. Just in general, any shirts matching that you would wear out together.
Oh, Kyle's making a run at that. He's the better friend.
This shirt.
He did make a shirt for me so we could go to Halloween Horror Nights.
I got the Crystal Lake
Oh,
shirt.
Me and
Summer
Melissa
Camp
made it.
1980. Oh, this is great.
I'm just rocking a little Picasso via Star Wars.
Star Warsy night.
Yep.
Star Warsy night.
I think that missed
okay.
the mark, just like the Stormtrooper.
Have a great Thanksgiving, you all, y'all, and stay out of trouble. And we'll see everybody next week. Same bad time, same bad channel, same nerd time, same nerd channel. Have a great Thanksgiving, folks.